Have you ever noticed something small about an elderly loved one, something so subtle, so quiet, that it didn't feel important in the moment? Maybe it was the way they paused before answering you, or how they suddenly pushed their dinner plate away after barely a few bites. Maybe it was a strange tiredness in their eyes that you shrugged off as just one of those days. But deep down you wondered, is something changing? And then, weeks or months later, you looked back and realized those tiny moments were actually pointing to something bigger. Something you wish you had understood sooner. You're not alone. So many families go through this without even realizing it. Not because they don't care, but because aging doesn't come with instructions. No one sits you down and teaches you how to read the gentle signals your loved one gives when their body and spirit begin to slow down. These signs don't scream. They whisper. And in the noise of everyday life, those whispers are easy to miss. But here's the truth. Those little changes matter. They tell a story, one that deserves to be heard. And that's why this video is so important. Today, we're going to walk through 7 signs many seniors show in their last year of life, signs that are not meant to frighten you, but to prepare you, to guide you, and to give you the clarity you may have been searching for. Some of these changes are obvious. Others are incredibly subtle, so subtle that only someone who truly loves them would notice. By the end of this video, you'll understand what these signs mean, why they appear, and most importantly, how you can support your loved one with compassion, patience, and confidence. Because you deserve that understanding, and they deserve that care. But before we go deeper into these signs, let me ask you for something simple. If you're watching this because you want to learn how to care more, how to love better, how to be there for the people who once held your hand, just type "I'm here" in the comments. It lets me know I'm speaking to someone who truly wants to make a difference. And if you're new here, subscribe to Elderly Wisdom Guide, a place where seniors and their families find clarity, comfort, and the kind of guidance that makes aging a little less confusing and a lot more compassionate. Let's begin with the first sign, and it's one that many families notice, but few truly understand. Sign 1, sudden loss of appetite. Maybe you've seen it yourself. Maybe your father, who used to enjoy every bite of a home-cooked meal, sits down at the table, looks at his food, takes 1 or 2 small bites, and then quietly pushes the plate away. No complaints. No explanation. Just a gentle, quiet withdrawal from something that was once so comforting. At first, you might think, maybe he's just not hungry today, or maybe the food didn't turn out the way he likes it. But when the pattern repeats itself, a part of you wonders if something else is happening. And often, there is. As the body ages, metabolism slows down. The body simply doesn't need as much energy as it used to. Taste buds also become less sensitive, making food that once tasted rich and flavorful feel dull or unappealing. And when the body begins shifting into a slower, more energy-conserving state, appetite naturally declines. But here's where families often misunderstand the situation. They see their loved one refusing food and think, they're being stubborn, or they're just becoming picky with age. Some families push harder, insisting they eat more, worried they're not getting enough nutrients. The reality is much gentler, and far more natural. Loss of appetite is often the body's quiet way of saying, I don't need as much as I once did. It's not rebellion. It's not irritation. It's the body preparing for less activity, sometimes even preparing for a new chapter. So what can you do? Instead of trying to force full meals, you can offer smaller portions, foods that are easy to chew, easy to digest, and served without pressure. Nutrient-rich snacks, small cups of soup, a few bites of fruit, sometimes, that's more than enough. And above all, keep hydration a priority. Water, herbal teas, light juices, anything that feels gentle and refreshing to them. When it comes to appetite, less is often okay. Your patience, your calm presence, and your willingness to follow their pace can make mealtimes peaceful again. But appetite isn't the only change you'll notice. Energy levels shift too. Sign 2, extreme fatigue and sleeping more. Picture this. A senior who once loved morning conversations and afternoon walks now spends most of the day resting. Maybe they fall asleep during a TV show they used to stay awake for. Maybe they nod off in the middle of a sentence. Or maybe, they simply seem tired from the moment they wake up. It's not laziness. It's not giving up. It's the body working harder behind the scenes. As seniors age, the heart has to put in more effort just to keep everything moving. Circulation slows. Muscles weaken. And the brain, one of the most energy-demanding organs, begins to tire more easily. The body naturally starts to conserve whatever energy it has left. This is why long naps become normal. Why a simple task like getting dressed can feel exhausting. Why conversations that were once lively now feel draining. But some families misinterpret this. They say things like, they're sleeping too much, or they're not trying hard enough, not realizing that fatigue is one of the body's clearest signals that it is slowing down. The truth is, the body is searching for balance. And rest is how it finds it. So instead of pushing them to stay active, try supporting their natural rhythm. Let them rest when they need to. Create quiet, peaceful spaces where sleep feels safe and uninterrupted. Dim lights, soft blankets, calm surroundings, these small touches can make a huge difference. And above all, remove the pressure. Their body knows what it needs. Your compassion helps them follow that inner guidance without guilt or frustration. And as sleep increases, movement often decreases. Sign 3, reduced mobility and weakness. Think about your mom for a moment. Maybe she used to take daily walks around the block, or move around the house with ease. She had her rhythm, her pace, her confidence. But now, you see her pause before standing up. She grips the arm of the chair a little tighter. She hesitates before taking that first step. Maybe she asks for your hand now, something she never used to do. These small moments can strike you in a very real way. Not because they're dramatic, but because they show you a shift you weren't quite ready for. And this change doesn't happen overnight. It happens gradually, as the body naturally slows down. Muscles weaken, even if they were once strong. Circulation becomes less efficient, making legs feel heavier and movements less steady. And balance, once something you never thought twice about, becomes unpredictable. The body is simply not as quick to respond as it once was. But here's where families often misunderstand what's happening. They think, we need more physical therapy, or, if they just exercised more, they'd get back to normal. But when mobility decline is part of the body's natural progression, especially in the later stages of life, it's not something that can always be fixed. That doesn't mean you give up. It simply means you shift your approach. Support becomes your best tool. Offer walking assistance when needed. Your arm, a cane, a walker, anything that gives them stability and confidence. Keep pathways clear so they can move through their home without fear of tripping. And don't hesitate to use mobility aids. They're not signs of weakness, they're extensions of independence. A small adjustment from you can give your loved one a sense of safety they may not even know how to ask for. But the changes you'll notice aren't just physical. Many families overlook the emotional shifts that follow. Sign 4. Withdrawal or social detachment. Maybe you've seen it. A grandmother who once filled every room with stories, laughter, and long conversations suddenly becomes quiet during family gatherings. She sits back, listening more than talking, sometimes smiling faintly, sometimes drifting into her own thoughts. At first, you might think she's tired, or maybe she's upset, or maybe she's simply not in the mood. But often, it goes deeper than that. As seniors age, especially in their final years, the brain becomes more sensitive. It tires faster. Crowded rooms feel overwhelming. Too many voices, too much movement, too much stimulation, it all becomes draining. So they pull back, not because they don't love being around the family, but because their mind and senses are asking for quiet. And here's something many people don't realize. Seniors often begin reflecting inwardly during this stage. They think more, feel more, remember more. They begin processing their life. Its joys, regrets, memories, and meanings. It's an emotional and sometimes spiritual preparation. Not a rejection of family. Not anger. Not sadness. Just a quiet turning toward themselves. But families often misinterpret it. They think, she must be upset with us, or we need to get her more socially engaged. And while connection is always valuable, forcing conversation or dragging them into long interactions can actually make things harder. The best support you can offer here is gentleness. Sit beside them without pushing them to talk. Hold their hand if they're comfortable with that. Let the silence be soft and safe. Allow them to drift in and out of thoughts without feeling pressured. Your presence alone can be a comfort deeper than any words you could offer. And sometimes, the mind reveals early hints through confusion. Sign 5. Increased confusion or forgetfulness. Imagine this moment. You're sitting with your dad, and he turns to you with a puzzled look. Asking the same question he asked 5 minutes ago. Or maybe he pauses when someone familiar walks into the room, as though his mind is searching through fog before the recognition finally clicks. He might forget what day it is, or where he placed something, or what he was just talking about. Sometimes he seems fully present. Other times, just slightly distant. This can be jarring. It can be painful. But it's not random. As the body slows down, so does the brain. Oxygen flow decreases, making it harder for the brain to stay sharp. Cognitive function becomes sluggish. Thoughts take longer to form and longer to connect. And some seniors experience short episodes of mini delirium, brief moments where the mind becomes momentarily confused or disoriented. It's not that they're forgetting because they don't care. It's not that they're ignoring you. It's simply the brain doing the best it can with the energy it has left. Yet, many families label this as normal aging. They say things like, oh, he's just getting old, or everyone forgets things. But when confusion appears suddenly, or increases noticeably, it can be one of the clearest indicators that the body is entering a different stage of its journey. So what can you do? You don't have to correct them harshly or repeat things with frustration. Instead, keep routines simple. Familiar patterns help their mind relax. Use gentle reminders when needed, and don't expect them to remember everything the way they once did. And above all, maintain a calm environment. Noise, clutter, or chaotic surroundings can make confusion worse, while a peaceful space helps the mind stay grounded. Your patience becomes their anchor. Your tone becomes their comfort. Your presence becomes the thing that helps them feel safe when their mind feels unsteady. And our next sign is one that families rarely connect to the final stages. Sign 6. Changes in breathing patterns. This one often shows up quietly, sometimes at night, sometimes while resting in a chair, sometimes in the middle of a conversation. You may notice longer pauses between breaths. Or shallow, almost whisper-like breaths. Or a shift in rhythm where breathing seems uneven, almost like it comes in waves. These patterns can be unsettling to hear, especially if you're not sure what's happening. But they're not uncommon. As the lungs weaken, the body becomes less efficient at exchanging oxygen. The heart rhythm may shift too, especially when the body is conserving energy. What you hear or see during these moments isn't just deep sleep, it's the body adjusting to new limits. It's quieter. Slower. Different. But many families assume, oh, they're just sleeping deeply, unaware that these small changes can signal that the body is entering a new phase of slowing down. This doesn't mean you need to panic. In fact, staying calm is one of the most helpful things you can do. You can keep the room cool to make breathing easier. Help them find a comfortable sleeping position, often slightly elevated. And instead of hovering with fear, simply observe with awareness and gentleness. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can offer is presence, steady, calm, comforting presence. And the final sign is one few families talk about, but it's one of the most meaningful. And now, let's talk about what all of this means for you and your family, because understanding these signs is only the beginning. What truly matters is how you respond, how you show up, how you support, and how you love through these delicate chapters. When you witness these shifts, changes in appetite, deep fatigue, slowing mobility, quiet withdrawal, moments of confusion, new breathing rhythms, or that surprising burst of clarity, you're not just seeing symptoms. You're witnessing your loved one's body speaking in its own gentle language. A language that says, "I'm slowing down. I'm preparing. I need peace. I need comfort. I need presence more than anything else." And that's where your role becomes profoundly meaningful. Because the final stage of life is not defined by fear, it's defined by connection. It's defined by how softly we hold the moments that remain. You don't need medical training. You don't need all the answers. What your loved one needs most is simple: your patience, your reassurance, and your calm presence. Sit beside them. Hold their hand. Let them set the pace. Offer small comforts, a sip of water, a soft blanket, a familiar voice reading a favorite passage. These are not small gestures. These are lifelines of dignity. And perhaps the most important truth? None of these signs mean you've done something wrong. They do not signal failure. They signal nature. They signal transition. They signal that the body is doing exactly what it has done from the moment life began, moving gently from one stage to the next. So if you're watching these changes unfold, remember, the goal is no longer to force strength or fight decline. The goal is to create comfort. To remove fear. To help them feel safe in a world that suddenly feels different. And sometimes, the greatest gift you can offer is simply being there, with softness, with compassion, with understanding. Because in the end, what we remember most are not the medical details, but the moments of closeness. The quiet breathing beside us. The final stories shared. The warmth of a hand that once held ours and now rests gently in return. So take a deep breath. You are doing your best. And your best is enough. Now, as we close this chapter, ask yourself, what small act of comfort can I offer today? What simple gesture of love can I bring into their world? Sometimes, those tiny acts become the memories that stay with us long after our loved ones have gone. And if this message helped you understand these changes in a clearer, gentler way, don't keep it to yourself. Someone else needs this clarity too. Watching someone you love change in these ways is heartbreaking. It's confusing. It's painful. And it's something no one truly prepares you for. Even when the changes come slowly, even when doctors explain what's happening, there's still a part of you that wants to hold on to the version of them you've always known. The version that laughed loudly. Walked confidently. Remembered everything. Ate heartily. The version that felt unshakable. But aging has a way of reminding us that life moves in cycles. And the emotional weight of witnessing these changes is not something to hide or ignore. It's something to acknowledge, to breathe through, to allow yourself to feel without shame. Because loving someone through their final stage is not weakness, it is one of the deepest acts of courage. But understanding these signs doesn't mean expecting the worst, it means stepping into a place of preparedness instead of fear. It means giving your loved one comfort, dignity, and peace in a time when the world can feel overwhelming to them. When you can recognize these changes for what they truly are, you stop fighting the tide, and you start guiding gently with it. You begin to create an environment that calms rather than confuses, comforts rather than stresses, supports rather than pressures. And if you've seen any of these signs, take a moment today, just one moment, to sit with your loved one. Hold their hand. Ask how they feel. Offer a warm smile. Sit in silence if silence is what brings them peace. Your presence matters more than anything else. You don't need perfect words. You don't need big gestures. You just need to be there. Sometimes a hand resting softly on theirs speaks louder than any conversation ever could. Aging may be inevitable, but fear doesn't have to be. With love, awareness, and patience, you can make this chapter meaningful for both of you. You can help your loved one feel safe, understood, and cherished. And through that, you might even find your own sense of peace, knowing you honored their journey with compassion. So let's take a moment to gently reflect on everything we've covered, because understanding is the foundation of care. To recap, we talked about 7 major signs: changes in appetite, deeper and longer sleep, slowing mobility, quiet withdrawal, moments of confusion, shifts in breathing, and that surprising burst of clarity near the end. Each one tells a story. Each one gives a clue. And each one helps you understand what your loved one is experiencing on a deeper level. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these signs have you noticed in your loved one? What shifts have you seen that made you pause, worry, or wonder? Share your experience in the comments below. Your story might help another family feel less alone, less afraid, and more prepared. You never know who your voice might comfort. And if this video brought you clarity, if it eased even a small part of your worry, or simply reminded you that you're not walking this journey alone, subscribe to Elderly Wisdom Guide. Every day, we bring you compassionate, practical guidance to help you navigate senior health, emotional wellness, and caregiving with confidence and grace. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Thank you for caring so deeply. Thank you for showing up for the people you love. Stay informed, stay compassionate, and as always, take gentle care of yourself and your loved ones. I'll see you in the next video.